Well, so I'm here to talk about wellness. I'm going to give you 4 studies, a little bit of science behind what's been told to you. And there's this physical activity and learning connection. And David Satcher is the chair of the summit. We've had a couple of them now, learning connection summits. And one reason I'm here is because I missed the last summit too, so I wasn't even there. And then she saw my name on the I know, and so I came to this. This is making up for missing the summit. And so the Wellness Impact is a report that's done each year, and I have a copy of this. I mean, if you want to look through it, I have it sitting over here, and I'll show it to you. I'd be happy to go through it with you. But it talks about this in detail. And the academic success, and then the risk for obesity and chronic conditions. It's amazing how lack of food and too much food can exist at the same time. I can't imagine this really. You know, I deal with people that are overweight. And so I talk about mindless eating. How do you eat less without knowing it? You know, how do we do that? And so 1 out of 5 children live in homes that are insufficient. How is that possible when you got this problem over here where 30% of kids are obese? Do you know there was a study done not too long ago in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, and it compared fat kids to cancer kids. And you know what? The kids that had cancer rated their quality of life higher than the obese children. I mean, it's not... You know, to be overweight as an adult is one thing. To be overweight as a kid, it's a horrible situation. And so I deal usually with this side over here. But then how can we be so split that at the same time we have 1 out of 5 children over here in insufficient food homes? And so I'm going to go through just a couple of studies. This is just a little detail. On the far left, this is 8.5 fruits and vegetables a day. You can see from the pink is 2003, then it goes 5, 7, 8, and then 2011 is in the dark. So you can see we're going at about 14%. 14% of the kids are having 5 fruits and vegetables a day. And that's sad. That's kind of pathetic. And then you look at drank 3 glasses of milk, we're going the wrong direction with children. That's why I'm so big on chocolate milk, even though I hate added sugar. Added sugar is evil, usually. Ate breakfast. We're doing great, 32, 33, 35, 37. Well, I mean, we're heading the right direction. That's still 2/3 of the kids don't eat. So, I mean, we're bumping it up slowly. But look how far we have to go. And then drank 1 glass of soda. We're doing pretty good at that, 1+. It's actually going down. Now, chocolate milk. I asked if I could talk about chocolate milk. She said yes, but apparently you people are the smartest state in the nation because you actually have higher consumption of flavored milks than anybody else. Well, that's kind of amazing because, you know, I have this battle. They sent me to Massachusetts, and I went there 3 times last year to talk to the school nutrition associations. They passed a bill saying this: you can have chocolate milk on the tray, but you cannot buy it a la carte. So kids are going through the line, getting chocolate milk. A kid brings his lunch, you can't have chocolate milk. And the kid goes, why? You can't, it's the law. You know? And so they had this stupid law. They brought me in to speak to all the state nutrition associations about the benefits of chocolate milk. See, because usually when you add sugar, you lose nutrients. Almost all the time. The more sugar you add, the less nutrients you have. That's pretty general. But in chocolate milk has what, 9 nutrients over 10%? It's a superfood. People talk about blueberries, raspberries, goji berries, acai berries. You know, all these good berries, superfoods. What's more super than a food that has 9 nutrients over 10%? So when you add sugar, does it drop to no nutrients? Does it hold 1 or 2 of them? It keeps all 9. All 9. 9 nutrients over 10%. So you take a cranberry. Okay, understand that I am the director of nutrition for the California Raisin Marketing Board as I speak about dried cranberries. But tell me if you agree. I mean, so you have a cranberry that's up here that has 300 milligrams of potassium, and you have a dry cranberry that has 50. You have a grape that has about 100 milligrams of potassium, and you dry it to a raisin, it has 300. So it goes up by a factor of 3 because you dry it. When a cranberry, how come it goes from 300 down to 50? Because they juice it, they rehydrate the skin in a sugar syrup, and it's over 50% sugar. And so it's a little cube of sugar in a little dry husk. And so it's more like, I get in trouble for saying this, it's more like a jelly bean than it is a fruit. And so I worked for the Raisin Board, and they said, please stop saying that. But I work for you guys. Yeah, but you're getting us in trouble. I don't care. It's the truth. I want to get the truth out to people. And so usually adding sugar is a bad idea. If you take out nutrients and throw in sugar, it's the worst of ideas. And that is the dried cranberry. Okay, I'm done. So with dairy, though, I usually tell people don't eat sugar. Don't have added sugar. There's only one case you do, to take a nutrient-dense food and get kids to eat more of it. Do you ever eat a salad with no dressing? No. You don't munch on dry vegetables. And then if you want to get a kid to eat broccoli and you dip it into ranch dressing, yummy. This is really good. And so you take a little glaze and you put on carrots and they go, oh, great carrots. Or you take turkey. Turkey is not made to be consumed because it gags you. You can't eat dry turkey. You just keep shoving a turkey in and you can't breathe anymore. So you smother it with gravy. Why? To get the turkey. And everybody does that. You slather gravy on turkey, you put dressing on stuff, you put dressing on a salad, and then you say, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of sugar to milk. No. And the whole world jumps up and starts screaming, no, sugar. Oh, danger, sugar. But really, come on, So I have a rational approach, I think. I've got a whole talk on added sugar, friend or foe. It can be a friend. It's almost always a foe. And so with milk, it is not. It's a friend. And so people say, what about baby children? Well, first of all, I don't recommend flavoring mother's milk with chocolate. So I think they ought to get this fresh, and they ought to have it white. And they say, what about little children? Well, again, you have total control over a 1-year-old. I don't see you ought to give them chocolate milk. And so you give them white milk. But when they hit kindergarten, all bets are off. No matter what you've taught them, they lose it all. They meet all the other kids. And the kids go chocolate. One of my kids came home one day and said, Dad, I was at a household today. They had a real chunk of meat on the table. Yeah, well, why don't we? Are we poor? No, wait, we just have little pieces of meat and things. He said, they had a big chunk of meat on the table. And then they never drank soda until they got to school. And then soda's everywhere, and they're drinking soda. So, okay, that's all I have to say about that. Chocolate milk is actually a superfood. Do you believe that? And chocolate itself, cocoa powder is an amazing food. You take 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, and your vessels dilate within 2 hours. And so what's the chance of having a heart attack while your vessels are dilating? Less. And so chocolate is great, and milk is great. Put them together. And you know what I've had people do? What about the sugar? The old lady came to me and she says, I flavor my chocolate milk with raisins. Oh, I love you. I tried it. It doesn't work. So here's this, positive health behaviors and high academic achievement. And we're going to talk about 4 studies that I want to go through in this. Now, usually this is what we show people. How does it connect eating breakfast, food insufficiency, and academics? Well, we show something like this. Less tardiness, true. Fewer referrals, yeah. Improved attention, yep. Increasing math scores, yes. Improved attention, fewer visits to health office. That's all true. But I just picked out 4 studies I want to go through with you today to show you what the data actually looks like. And then if you want these, I can send them to you. But a lot of this is, where's the frack lady? Jessica. And so frack has a lot of this. As a matter of fact, a lot of the stuff that I got was from Jessica's publication. Jessica will love this. I have her frack thing, and I had my students go out. And so you've got frack publications like this. A lot of my stuff comes from this, Jessica. And so it's usually this kind of information, which is good for the public. But so I went to the end notes, and I circled a bunch of them, and I had my students go out and find this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And so we're going to look at some of the data that comes from some of these studies. Some of this is from FRAC. This is food insufficiency, American school-age children, cognitive, academic, and psychosocial development. This is a good one. And these are risk factors for kids. Unemployed family, moved 3 times, blood pressure. How many of those things does the child have control over? None. How many of those do I have control over? None. How many do you have control over? None. Look at these things. Exposure to prenatal smoke. How are you going to stop that one? I mean, you, in the school. Exposure to prenatal smoke, birth complications, mother under the age of 18. So there's lots of risk factors that kids have out there that we don't have control over. And this is just showing that if you have 1 risk factor, 2, 3, 4, how test scores go down. The block design score, the digital span, looking at intelligence, looking at memory. and then reading and arithmetic. Look at the score. Starts at 0. They go to -0.5, -1, -1.5. By the time you have 6 of these, you're just behind the 8 ball. You're already in deep trouble. And so how many of those we have control over? None. So now let's throw nutrition on top of that. And let me tell you about test scores for nutrition then. So this is the same study, and I just didn't put this into a slide. This is what happens to math scores. So you look at the 6 to 11-year-olds that were food sufficient. This is an N. Haynes study, 3,000 kids. 2,900 food sufficient, 370 insufficient. And the block design scores in the food sufficient went from 9.8 to 8.5. That's a big drop. Yeah, I mean, people win athletic competitions by 1/100th of a second. And then here is the digital span score went from 8.9 to 7.6. Reading from 7.9 to 6.1. Went from almost 8 to 6.1. It dropped by 25% in these kids from food sufficient to food insufficient. 25%. That's one we have control over. And then math went from 8.7 to 7.1 and repeated the grade. 11% or 11 students out of that group repeated a grade, went to 27. 27 repeated the grade. Now, it's not just the raw math and science and things like that, but it's also psychological things. So this is a odds ratio. So this is, have you ever seen a psychologist? And the 1 is set for the food sufficient. What's the chance of somebody who's food sufficient seeing a psychologist? It's set at 1. And then if you have kids that are food insufficient, it's 1.75. It's almost increased by 75%. Have you seen a psychologist? And then this one, have you ever been suspended? It's 95%. It's almost double. And this is not, are you smart? Are you stupid? Are you go from a good family? You come from a bad family? Did you have a good day? Did you have a bad day? All these things. This is only looking at food sufficient and food insufficient. The chances of them ever being suspended almost doubles, just being food insufficient. And then difficulty getting along with others. Well, you teachers, you administrators, my daughter-in-law teaches kids in, I think it's 6th grade, and she's a special ed teacher. I used to think special ed was people that have cognitive problems, but it's behavioral problems. So, and I thought, my poor daughter-in-law, so I thought she had these cute little kids that had mental issues. No, the kid gets too bad in school, and they send him over there to special ed. He must need special. And so she got all these kids that have bad behaviors. She's got all these insufficient kids. Poor girl. So that's how much of a difference it makes. It's huge, just being food sufficient or food insufficient. This is an experimental study then of energy intake at breakfast. This isn't whether you had breakfast or not. It's how good the breakfast was. And so we're comparing 2 groups here. And in this one, the one breakfast that they had was like 250 calories for the boys on the big breakfast. And they did this like for a couple of days. They looked at their breakfast. 250 calories, that's 20% of what they need, or 125 calories, 10% of what they need. So they had breakfast, but one of them had a lower calorie breakfast than what they needed. It just wasn't enough. And so here's all subjects. This is breakfast A, and boys and girls. And then here's breakfast B. So you can see it doesn't make much of a difference there, 90%. Breakfast A is the one that has the enough food in it. Breakfast B is half the amount that they need. And so in all subjects, that difference wasn't significantly different, but it was a little lower, wasn't significant. So then they looked at the outliers. They took the outliers off and looked at the 90%. And this was significantly less. The Mann-Whitney test scores dropped significantly just by how much breakfast they had. And then you looked at the boys. Who got the hit? The boys. And look at the girls. Theirs went up. It wasn't a significant difference, but theirs actually went up a little bit. Who's having the trouble? Little boys. You know, when they don't have enough breakfast. They even had breakfast. Okay, that's my second study. Here's my third one. Why is this? Fasting and cognition and well-being in undernourished children, a review of some studies. I'm just going to talk about one of them. This is 2,100 times they had breakfast, and this is their average glucose level. Now, glucose is blood sugar that gives your brain energy to function and your body energy to function. And then here is noon after breakfast. So these kids had breakfast. And this is by noon, even after they had breakfast, their little bodies are running around, and their blood sugar drops a little bit. Here's the condition where they didn't have any breakfast, and then by noon, their blood sugar had really dropped. Now, you wonder why kids. Now, with all of you, you see, you could make it for like a month and not eat. I'm not kidding. It doesn't have much to do with body size. It has to do with how much storage you have. But I'm not really talking about that storage. I'm talking about glycogen storage. That's the sugar that's stored there. I mean, athletes try and build that little piece up. You have quite a bit of it. If you don't eat breakfast, well, your body doesn't notice it as much. This is beta-hydroxybutyrate. This is a ketone body that's used when your body starts burning up fat. So here is the kids, at breakfast, preceding breakfast. This is what it is. When you have breakfast, what this means is you had breakfast, you had enough food, your body doesn't have to consume itself, and so the amount of beta-hydroxybutyrate drops because you're not burning up your own tissue. You burn up your tissue when you fast. Take a look at this. This is when the condition at noon, when they didn't have breakfast. Their little bodies are digesting themselves just to be able to make it through lunch. So isn't that huge? Look at the difference. So when people start fasting, that's what happens. Your body breaks down itself, and you end up with more of this produced. So their bodies just aren't big enough to do it. They can't handle it. All right, my last study. Relationship between hunger and psychological functioning in low-income children. Now, this is kind of messy, so I'll explain this one to you. There's lots of little graphs on here. So this is just total. We don't need that one. Here is the hungry. So this is the CBL. Do you know what this is? Who knows what this is? I have no idea. I'm going to read it to you because you probably know this better than I do. And so this is a child behavior score, and this is total. So this is child behavior. And then this is, well, let me do all these. I'm going to put them up there because I want to explain it to you. So this is at risk, and here's the not hungry. I'm going to take it one at a time. So, and this just child behavior score, you can look at from the red, they're hungry, how high theirs is, to those that are at risk in the green, still high, but not as high. And then you compare that to the not hungry. Look how much hunger and at risk increases the score of behavior. And then the same thing with the score of, this is called a psychosocial screening. And you can look at this, start with the purple, the not hungry, and look at those at risk in the green, how it goes up. And those that are hungry goes up even more. So again, their score on this goes up. Oh, let me go back. And then with this one, this is the hyperactivity score, the CTRS. And so look at the purple, and then look at the at risk. It doesn't go up at all. They're at risk for it. But if they're hungry, have you heard that sugar causes hyperactivity? You know what really causes it? Hungry children. So hungry children, look at how much it goes up on hyperactivity when you don't feed them. You got to feed those little bodies. Okay. And then this last one, which again, these are not my thing, so I don't have any clue what they are. As I look at them, I lost my paper. Where'd I go with my paper? Okay. What is a CGAS? It's a teacher scoring thing on how well they're doing. And so in this one, this is a score of how well the kids are doing, scored by the teacher. And you can see that the not hungry are higher as you go to at risk and hungry. The teacher's score, the interviewer, of how well they're doing goes up. So it's actually good for them. Not hungry is a good thing. And then, of all things, absence and tardiness. Do kids need to be in school to learn? Well, yeah. Do they have to be there on time? Oh, yeah. And so here is the total again, days. Here are the hungry kids. Isn't that amazing, the total? Let me put in the at-risk, and I'm going to put in the not hungry. So look at this absence days, about 2, a little over 2 for the purple, the not hungry. And then to the hungry, it goes up to over 5. So now the kids aren't even in school. So hunger with kids especially. People say, do you have to eat breakfast? Yeah, you know, for adults, eat when you're hungry. If you're not hungry, don't eat. I have some friends of mine that are just large. And they say, well, I have to eat 3 meals a day because if I skip one, you know, then my metabolism gets all off and I eat too much. I think you're eating too much now. You know, and so the idea of what's true with children is not necessarily true with us. Little bodies need energy to grow and to function. For us, I got to have breakfast. I got to eat. Not really. Eat when you're hungry. Are you starving in the morning? Eat breakfast. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Well, then I'll eat too much when I eat. Well, start eating when you get hungry. You know, don't wait all day. And by the end of the day, I'm so starved. So you don't want to do that. But you don't necessarily have to. Children do. Their little bodies need it. All right. I'm going to close with this. This is a Proceedings of the Learning Summit. You can actually find this in Nutrition Today article in January, February this year. It talks a little bit about it. And this is only one thing I want to say about activity, because activity is important too. This is Fuel Up to Play 60. And so brain activity research shows that brains of breakfast eaters are more active. We've already seen that. If you skip breakfast, your brains don't work as well. But look at physical activity. I don't have any data. I have a pretty picture for you. And so this looks at brain activity before exercise and the amount after exercise. And look at all the color that's there after exercise. Your brains speed up. Are any of you in here over 40? Oh, my goodness. This is more important for you than for these kids. You know, they show that if you're a 60, 70-year-old, I'm 59 now, so I exercise as much as I can because I want to keep my brain going. For us baby boomers, I mean, it's good for children to exercise so they can learn that morning. But it's good for us to keep the thing going, and it's amazing how much a little bit of exercise, 20 minutes of walking, how it improves blood flow to your brain. Good for kids, more important for us, baby boomers who want to keep our brains. And so exercise, Fuel Up to Play 60. This is just then a snapshot of Fuel Up to Play 60. I love the program. It's amazing. It's just a great program. Do you know how many schools used to require physical education? All of them. Do you know how many states require it now? I think Illinois is the only one. Who else? Who? Illinois. Are you serious? So I'm happy to say I'm from Illinois. That's the only reason I'm happy to be there. Because in most cases, I'm really not happy to be there at all. We're the worst run state in the nation. God bless you all down here in Florida. And so this looks at exercise, Fuel Up to Play 60. You fuel up with food to play 60 minutes. And what a great concept, the combination of those two, especially with the NFL. You bring me in here and I weigh 160. You know, you bring an NFL player in and the kids go, wow, look at that player. And he's this big and he tells you 8 and exercise. And it works. And so those guys are just huge and they're in good shape too. I was on the flight day before yesterday. I flew in with Mike Tyson behind me. And he's old. I mean, he's not, how old is Mike Tyson? 46, 47? I mean, his arms are still bigger than my legs. You know, I looked around him, I wanted to touch him, but I thought he might hit me, you know? Man, he bit off somebody's ear once. He might punch me. So I thought I was going to, but I didn't. And so here's Mike Tyson. He's about that much taller than me, but he's this wide, and it's all muscle. I really wanted to push him a little bit and see how much of what I didn't. So Fuel Up to Play 60 is a wonderful program. I'm here only today just because I believe in it. You know, I really didn't need to fly across the country 3-4 times in 2 days just to, you know, for the fun of it. And so I believe in this. And when Lori asked me to come and share a little bit about why breakfast is important, I was happy to do it. And then this is some statistics about it. You'll see this later probably, so I won't go through it. But 73,000 schools, that's a lot of schools. That's huge. You know, much bigger than all these. The president's wife tries to get a program going, you know, and it's like this big. You know, and Fuel Up to Play 60 is everywhere. So I support it. Okay. I have 3 minutes left. See? That's pretty good, huh? Well, I know. And any questions, comments that you have about this? Did I cover everything? Are your brains saturated? Yeah. Yell.
Having the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics meeting in Atlanta next month.
Right.
Are you going to attend?
I am. I have 5 students doing posters there, but
Great.
again, I'm there for 24 hours.
The issue is sometimes other dietitians don't believe us when we indicate that flavored milk is important for kids. We've actually had that argument in our own area. We're all dietitians, but for some reason that seems to separate us and differentiate us,
Right.
even though we understand the science behind it. Could you talk to that for
I
a moment?
can, and again, I'll speak to the Florida Dietetic Association coming up next year. I've been here for the last couple of years. I do California, Texas, New York. I do the larger dietetic associations as well as Fancy, the big one. And I made up this talk, Sugar Added Friend or Foe, just for that one issue. Now, it fits a lot of other issues. Raisins like it. Craisins hate it. You know, and so I made it up just for that. And when I go through, my answer is kind of what I gave you. And that's when I say, think about it logically. And some people say, then they say something like, yeah, but I just don't want to have anything in there. No added sugar for my children. You know, great, but baloney. Your kids are getting added sugar. Don't tell me they're not. If they're over the age of 5 and they're not in your grasp, they're getting added sugar. And flavored milk is 3% of kids' sugar intake. So even if you focus all your ammunition on chocolate milk and you win and you wipe out every chocolate milk, you've cut out 3%. You're aiming for the wrong thing. And so I tell people all the time, if you miss the truth, it's not so sad, except that you're believing something that's not true and you're in deep trouble. You're not going to get where you want to be. If you want to attack added sugar, take soda out. You know, aim for soda. Aim for cookies, aim for cakes, aim for pies, aim for Pop-Tarts, aim for cranberries. You know what? I can't say this when I'm speaking for raisins because they won't let me, because they get in trouble then. But dairy's not going to get in trouble for raisins. And so the idea is that when people talk to me about that, each time I've had long discussions, and I've had heated discussions in large audiences with dietitians. But the thing is they always lose because everybody else in the room goes, that makes sense. That makes sense. And we just make a sensible argument. My biggest talk right now is sensual nutrition. Make it taste good, make it look good, sneak in the nutrition stealthily, and I call it sensual nutrition. So that comes out all the time. So really you can, and I usually, after people think about it, they go, that's right, 3%, why am I aiming there? It's getting this food over 9%, what a great idea. Not all added sugar is bad. Yes. Well, I think it is, yeah. You know, I don't know. It's funny. I speak all the time, and I'm everywhere sometime. I mean, and there's so much information that has to get out. It's hard to get it. Information is so abundant. You know, my biggest talk right now is not even milk. It's heart disease. You have a heart attack, they say, cut out fat, cut out saturated fat, cut out cholesterol, cut out sodium. They don't do anything. And you go home and you die sad. You know, you ought to die happy if you're gonna pass over to the next world. And so even that information, how is it that happens? I don't know. I don't know how it happens, but there's a lot of good information. As much time as I can, I'm happy to come and help. And you're right, when people hear information, good data, it changes opinions. And so I'd be happy to give some more of this too. And that was just a small piece of what we talked about today.